Today marks exactly 1 year from the 2024 presidential election and what could end up being a rematch between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Our new CBS News poll shows Biden continues to trail Donald Trump in that possible head-to-head. He is
2021. That's the starting point for where a Trump presidency would be next time around. So I think he's had largely, believe it or not, a free ride. Again, the criminal cases we know about, but what he's thinking, what he's doing,
he's had a free ride, meaning that the media isn't attacking him enough.
Because at least they are now admitting, yeah, I think it's time for him to step aside. It's been time, friends. It's been time. Not just the level of incompetence. Just look at the world. Listen, man, they have finally admitted it. The Democrats are finally speaking the very things we've been talking about in this channel for a long time. You know, kind of late for the party, but it's good to hear that they are coming, at least arriving to the points of what we've discussed. Remember, no evidence, nothing's wrong, this and that. The denialism was out of control. The copium, the unwillingness to be real and stay in touch with reality was something that it was out of control. So it's good to hear the Democrats are now finally saying, it's time for somebody else. It took them a while to admit that. Anyway, we're going to enjoy my man Mark Dice here. I know Mark Dice got a book that he is selling, and I plan to take a look at that as well. So this is a guy that I love because he talks about things from this perspective in things that are very uncomfortable. He's not afraid to stand for white people. He's right on many things. I wouldn't say everything. But for the most part, this guy is on point. Anyway, friends, let's enjoy this video. Go show some love and support if you know who Mark Dice is. Support his channel as well. He's doing a great work online, and I give him a lot of godly respect. Let's get to this thing.
Democrats have some major problems that are making them consider whether or not they should try to force Joe Biden out of the race, because two brand new polls over the weekend in liberal media outlets have them questioning whether or not he has what it takes to make it across the finish line. But then that also opens up a gigantic can of worms, which would involve countless other problems that may be just as difficult.
Today marks exactly 1 year from the 2024 presidential election and what could end up being a rematch between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Our new CBS News poll shows Biden continues to trail Donald Trump in that possible head-to-head. He is now down 3 points. For more on why, we go to Anthony Salvanto. Good morning to you, Anthony.
Good morning. Many Democrats are starting to realize that despite President Trump's occasional immature behavior and mean tweets, the country, the economy, our culture, the entire world was a much better and safer place when he was in charge.
The number of Americans who think that things are going badly in the country today has hit its high for the year. So you might expect any incumbent to be down as Biden is. But then look at these positive views of what people think will happen for them financially if Donald Trump wins. Way more voters think they'd be better off. And Biden, for his part, hasn't fully convinced as many Democrats that he'd help them as the middle class still reels from inflation.
The New York Times.
It's amazing listening to them saying this now. It's like, bro, we've been saying this for years, man. Listen, man, we've been talking on this channel. And I'm not so much a political person, so I'm more like in a journey and learning, and I'm trying to balance that, which is political, and seeing the religious side of certain things and introduce Christ in the process. But from the perspective of what we've examined thus far, we've been saying, yo, bro, like, you still thinking about voting for Biden? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, can't you see the light? But anyway, friends, it's good to hear that they're finally coming home and realizing the nature of their rhetoric wasn't always in line with reality. Yeah, it was good. Welcome.
Democrats that he'd help them as the middle class still reels from inflation.
The New York Times also came out with a poll over the weekend showing that Donald Trump is beating old Joe in numerous key swing states. And so, of course, the Operation Mockingbird assets aren't very happy about that.
Biden in 5 of the 6 key battleground states, including some rather large leads in Nevada and Arizona.
Yeah, and it's not an outlier. We've seen similar polls like this that show in that hypothetical matchup, which doesn't seem all that hypothetical anymore, of Biden versus Trump. It shows that he can actually win and is leading in these battleground states. But, George, I have to tell you, one thing to consider here is Trump has been in the news over the last year or so based on these criminal cases, the civil case in New York. But people have not been paying attention to what Trump has become. Trump, since he left the White House.
No, we've been paying attention, friend. We have. We realize the level of censorship and the level of animosity, the weaponization of our agencies to go after Trump. We notice the way you call the MAGA movement an extreme MAGA Republican. You refer to them as white supremacists, really, when they are not. You've also spoken about the nature of breaking apart our economy and comparing that to Donald Trump. We go to the gas station, we have an idea of what is happening. So it's almost like this man is trying to tell us that we're not paying attention. Actually, we've been paying attention. That's why. When you got black people wanting to vote for Donald Trump, listen, we've been paying attention. When you got Hispanics making songs in favor and support of Trump, we have been paying attention, okay? So I don't know what you might be talking about. I think Trump has become famous more than ever before because all the indictments and everything, the more you indict, the more we unite. You've made him even more powerful, and we end up loving him even more because of the way you guys treated him. So we're not out of our minds, by the way. We still got our minds. I think you guys are the one losing it.
And this is really the theme of my book, has become.
You hear that, guys? We got to buy his book in order to learn his expert analysis of why, despite Donald Trump being smeared in the media 24/7 for years now, he still is beating old Joe. And speaking of books, mine comes out tomorrow. Will be the big reveal, so be sure to check back here for that, and then order it on Amazon immediately, first thing in the morning, so that we could boost it, hopefully, to #1. But please tell us more of your expert analysis, sir.
Trump, since he left the White House, and this is really the theme of my book, has become more detached from reality than he ever was even in the White House. If you think of where we were in January of 2021, that's the starting point for where a Trump presidency would be next time around. So I think he's had largely, believe it or not, a free ride. Again, the criminal cases we know about, but what he's thinking, what he's doing,
he's had a free ride, meaning that the media isn't attacking him enough, and the American people just aren't paying enough attention to their important reporting. But Joe Biden's terrible poll numbers are leading Democrats to have some very uncomfortable conversations.
This is probably going to lead to a lot of Democrats increasing the chatter that Joe Biden should step aside and make room for another Democrat.
And I think the problem that
Oh my Lord! I can't believe they even asked that question. That's a step in a positive direction, right? The fact they're even asking this question is actually a step in a positive direction for them, because at least they are now admitting, I think it's time for him to step aside. It's been time, friends. It's been time. Not just the level of incompetence. Just look at the world. We got 2 major wars going on because of the weakness of Joe. Nobody respects him. Like, bruh, what is wrong with people today? Your political ideology is blinding you from seeing the facts. Just the major withdrawal from Afghanistan have opened a floodgate of weaknesses, and these countries are examining the nature and taking the pulse of Americans. It's like, well, these people are weak. Let's take advantage of this stuff. I mean, come on, friends. I don't think we understand how deplorable things have become under Joe Biden. And I'm not blaming a single man. I believe he's, I've said it before, it's an empty suit, man. He's an empty suit, boy. He's not that serious, right? Somebody else is in charge. We know that, and maybe he's Barack Obama, and I've said it before. But the point is, when you understand how bad things have become under Joe, you should have been having this conversation, like I would say 2 years ago, literally.
Joe Biden should step aside and make room for another Democrat.
And I think the problem that Democrats have is they don't know who that Democrat would be right now. I don't think that people look at Kamala Harris and feel like she is ready to take that step forward. They look across the rest of the party, governors, senators, mayors, House members, and they're struggling to figure out who they could put up if it's not Joe Biden.
How is it that these people get paid to give their political analysis? Everybody knows that the man waiting in the wings is California Governor Gavin Newsom. At the end of the month, he's going to be debating Ron DeSantis, the Republican establishment's favorite choice for the Republican nominee. For some weird reason, a man who's supposedly not running for president or not running yet, debating against the Republican establishment and Conservative Inc., the brand name conservatives, favorite candidate. And now David Axelrod, who was Barack Obama's senior advisor, has weighed in on the polls, saying that they will send tremors of doubt throughout the Democrat Party. And that while Joe, should be proud of his accomplishments, blah, 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 only Joe can make the decision if he continues to run. He says he will be the nominee of the Democrat Party, which I don't doubt, because let's not forget that the Democrats voted into Senate John Fetterman, a man who couldn't even finish a sentence, literally. What he needs to decide, he says, is whether that is wise, whether it's in his best interest or the country's. Joe Biden would not have run for re-election if Donald Trump didn't first announce that he was running for re-election, because they expected him to just bow his head in shame and then scurry away off into the sunset after the mostly peaceful protests at the Capitol on January 6th. But once Donald Trump announced that he was running again, if Joe Biden didn't continue to run for re-election, he would have looked weak. The entire Democrat Party would have looked weak. He would have looked like he was afraid of Donald Trump and afraid that he was going to lose if they had a rematch. So he had to announce that he was running again. But Joe Biden is aging like milk. And so even Bill Kristol, who's a neocon who, like all neocons, wants the Democrats to stay in power, is calling for old Joe to step down, saying, "It's time. President Biden has served our country well. I'm confident he'll do so for the next year. But it's time for an act of personal sacrifice and public spirit. It's time to pass the torch to the next generation. It's time for Biden to announce he won't run in 2024. That tweet.
All right, way to go. You go ahead, Bill Kristol. Tell it like it is, boy.
Time for Biden to announce he won't run in 2024. That tweet is from yesterday. But this would lead to another massive problem, because if he were to drop out, then by tradition, the vice president would pick up the baton and then continue the race. But his VP is the diversity hire, Kamala Harris, who not only is completely incompetent, but also completely disliked by the majority of Democrats. In fact, she was polling so low during the run for presidency. Remember, she ran for president in 2020, that she was one of the first to drop out. And as the world continues to spiral into chaos, clips from the 2020 election like this are going to resurface and go viral and remind the American people just what a terrible decision they made by, well, supposedly voting for this man and putting him into the White House.
The world has changed because of what Trump has done. And the American people, including independents and some Republicans, know how bad he is, know how much he's misrepresented, know how he's getting close to getting us in a war. I said, as the walls close in on this man, I'm worried he's going to get us to war in Iran. Unfortunately, I may.
Oh, wow. Is the very thing he actually said about Trump, that Trump was going to do, he used in his campaign to become president, are the very things that he himself has done. That's crazy. We are on the brink of a World War III with Iran under Joe Biden. Lord have mercy.
As the walls close in on this man, I'm worried he's going to get us to war in Iran. Unfortunately, I may have been right.
Actually, if anything gets us into war with Iran, it's going to be our government continuing to give billions of dollars a year to a certain little country in the Middle East in order to help defend their borders.
Some people had an issue with the last video that I made about this. American First Policy, he's saying the same thing I said. There's something theologically that's driving this theologically, and I think we need to be talking about this. And the perspective is that Israel is God's people, just as it has been in biblical time. There's going to be no change whatsoever, right? That's driving many of our policies. And I think this is the part of the video that needs to be examined. And I'm going to do apologetics video addressing that. I will be asking the questions and seeking the answers from the scripture, because a lot of the decisions that are being made, okay, in support of Israel, in the way that it's being done, is actually religious. It really is. Now, we're not going to get into that now, but I will say there needs to be a proper understanding of the nation of Israel today from the light of Scripture and what exactly our position and attitude should be when it comes to this. We got to be very careful, okay? But anyway, much more could be said about that. Let's let him finish.
Here to a certain little country in the Middle East in order to help defend their borders during their ongoing land dispute between two different ethnic groups that's been going on in its current iteration for 75 years. And by the way, I'm having a pre-Black Friday sale starting today at markdice.com where you can save 25% off of any of my shirts by using the promo code HOLIDAYS25, holidays with a Z. It's not my promo code. The t-shirt distributor came up with it. I know it's lame, but you can use it and save 25% off of your Wanted for President shirt or any of my awesome designs. So head on over to markdice.com or click the link in the description below. Enter the promo code HOLIDAYS25 at the checkout to save 25% this week. And check them out.
Great video, Mark Dice, as always. Hopefully you get to see this reaction video. So true. The Democrats are now waking up realizing that, okay, it's time for somebody else. Again, we are not asleep. It's not like we're not paying attention. And we're not going to get your book, mister, to learn more propaganda. You've done good enough telling us this stuff on your screen. And again, considering the nature of Joe and what's going on in Israel and all that, there's a lot that needs to be discussed about this. I think we should definitely go show Mark Dice some love. The book is coming out tomorrow. By all means, check it out. I plan on getting one. I plan on buying one. So, by the way, we have been demonetized on YouTube. Completely demonetized. That doesn't stop me from doing what I love to do because it's never been about money for me. Plus, Jesus takes good care of me. The other thing is that, so if you want to support the movement, there is a link in the description below. We do have a merch also in the description of this video. So these are some of the ways you can support the movement. And I'll tell people Patreon is one of the best ways. Some people were asking, how could we donate to the movement? We love what you guys are doing and we want to support you. Patreon is the way to go. The link is also in the description. I'm going to post it at the end so you can actually check it out as well. So, I say that to say this very quickly. I want to run to two Bible verses here. All right. The first one is in Proverbs 16, verse 2. Let's go to Proverbs 16, verse 2. All right. Here we are. There it is. All the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes. Now, this is the King James Version, but I want to tone it down just a little bit. All the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes, but Jehovah weigheth the spirit. Now, what exactly does this mean? Here's what I'm trying to say, friends. People can have a perspective about doing things one particular way, but God himself is the one who examine the spirit. What that means is he examines the motives of the heart. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Commit your work to the Lord and your plan shall be established. The application I'm making here politically. On one side, the Democrats thought, if we did this, if we do that, and if we did this to Trump, we're going to get him. But what they didn't realize, the Lord weighs the spirit. So he actually examined the motives and he actually turns things around and make it work for his glory. And that's something that they weren't ready for. They thought the indictments were going to do it. Nope, it's not doing it. So that's why you can have the best plans, especially when you're working against God's plan. You're not going to go far, buddy. Here is the thing. Proverbs 25, verse 8. Do not hastily bring into court for what you will do in the end, and your neighbor puts you to shame. So the idea here is that you are quick to take on fight and wage war against a person that you don't agree with, right? But the problem is that the individual can turn around and humiliate you. Now, he says, debate thy cause with thy neighbor himself, and disclose not the secret of another. So this should have been kept behind doors. You should have counseled the men in private. That's the point. But sometimes the media went publicly with a lot of their allegation, turned out to be false, and now people now are sympathizing with Trump. The point I'm trying to say is, lest he that heareth it revile thee, and thy infamy turn not away. Listen, the very thing you try to do to the man creates a level of sympathy in the hearts of the majority because of the way you try to humiliate him publicly. And as a result of that, his polls numbers are even better than they have been before. And now he is humiliating you. He's putting you to shame. That's the point of the thing. Be careful how you go about trying to put the man to shame and make a mockery out of his life, because what could happen, things could actually work in his favor. And that's exactly what is going on. That is exactly what is going on, friends. That's why he says, do not go hastily in the end thereof to wage war, to strive against your neighbor. Why? We are told that your infamy, there it is, will not turn away. So we're going to have a bad name for you. And the word infamy here is reputation in a sense. And your name will be put out for evil as a result of the way you went about persecuting Trump. That's the point. There's a lot could be said about that. But anyway, friends, link in the description below. Like and subscribe to the page. Click the bell icon for more. Have a good one. Bye.